Trust is the most misunderstood force in human relationships. Most people believe trust is built through kindness, loyalty, honesty, or the passing of time. They imagine it as a fragile flower that blooms when watered with affection. But life is not a garden, and human beings are not innocent creatures wandering through it. Every relationship is a battlefield where desires collide, fears whisper, and hidden motives struggle for dominance. What people call trust is rarely pure. More often, it is an agreement between two insecurities that hope neither will betray the other first. Observe people closely. Listen not only to their words, but to the silences between them. You will discover that trust is not given because someone deserves it. It is given because the human soul cannot survive complete isolation. Every person carries a burden too heavy to bear alone. Every heart seeks another place where it can lower its guard, even if only for a moment. Trust is not proof of another person's virtue. It is evidence of your willingness to risk suffering in exchange for connection. That is why betrayal hurts so deeply. It is never simply about lies or broken promises. Betrayal is the destruction of an illusion that allowed us to feel safe. The pain does not come from what another person did. It comes from realizing that the image we created of them never truly existed. We mourn not only the relationship, but also the version of reality we believed was permanent. The weak respond to betrayal by deciding never to trust again. They build walls, call them wisdom, and spend the rest of their lives confusing loneliness with strength. They wear suspicion like armor, believing that no one can hurt them if no one can enter their world. But this is not victory. It is surrender disguised as intelligence. A fortress protects against enemies, but it also imprisons the king inside. The foolish travel to the opposite extreme. They trust everyone without examination, believing that goodness attracts goodness. They mistake optimism for perception. They open every door without asking who stands outside. When betrayal arrives, they call the world cruel instead of recognizing their own blindness. Strength walks a different path. It neither worships trust nor fears it. It understands that every relationship is an act of calculated courage. To trust another person is to acknowledge that pain is possible while refusing to let fear become your master. This is not weakness. It is discipline. People often say that trust must be earned. This sounds noble, yet reality is more complicated. Trust is never earned completely because human beings never stop changing. The person who was honest yesterday may become desperate tomorrow. The loyal friend may one day face temptations greater than loyalty itself. Circumstances reveal sides of people that comfort keeps hidden. Never assume you know someone simply because you have known them for years. Time reveals character, but it also transforms character. The person standing before you today is not the same person you met a decade ago. Their victories, failures, disappointments, ambitions, and fears have reshaped them in ways neither of you fully understands. This is why blind trust is dangerous. Not because people are naturally evil, but because people are endlessly changing. Human nature is fluid. Every soul contains contradictions waiting for the right moment to emerge. Look at how easily affection changes under pressure. Love that seemed eternal suddenly collapses beneath financial hardship. Friendships disappear when success creates distance. Family bonds weaken when inheritance enters the conversation. Principles that sounded absolute become negotiable when survival is threatened. Do not misunderstand this as cynicism. It is observation. Reality does not become darker because we acknowledge its shadows. It simply becomes clearer. Many relationships fail because they confuse dependency with trust. A person believes they trust their partner, but in truth, they merely fear losing the emotional comfort that partner provides. Remove the comfort, and what remains is panic, jealousy, and desperation. That was never trust. It was addiction wrapped in romantic language. Real trust exists only where freedom exists. If someone remains because they are trapped, obligated, or afraid, their presence means nothing. The bird inside a cage is not loyal to its owner. It simply has nowhere else to fly. This is why attempts to control another person always destroy trust. Endless questioning, constant surveillance, demands for proof of love, and obsessive jealousy are not signs of devotion. They are confessions of insecurity. The more tightly you grip another soul, the more desperately it seeks escape. Trust grows where freedom survives. When someone chooses you despite having countless alternatives, their presence carries weight. Choice creates meaning. Compulsion destroys it. There is another uncomfortable truth that few wish to face. People trust confidence more than morality. A confident liar often appears more believable than an honest person filled with doubt. Human psychology responds less to truth than to certainty. This explains why manipulators flourish while sincere individuals are ignored. Confidence creates an illusion of reliability, even when it hides deception. Therefore, never judge character by charisma. The loudest voice often conceals the weakest foundation. Real integrity rarely advertises itself. It does not demand applause because it is too occupied with remaining consistent. Notice how quickly people reveal themselves when power shifts. The employee becomes the manager. The poor become wealthy. The unknown become famous. Suddenly, kindness disappears, humility evaporates, and promises lose their value. Power does not always corrupt. More often, it exposes what was already hidden beneath politeness. Trust someone, not because they treat powerful people with respect, but because they treat powerless people with dignity. Anyone can be generous toward those who benefit them. Character appears most clearly where there is nothing to gain. Every relationship eventually reaches a moment when masks become exhausting. At first, people perform carefully crafted versions of themselves. They hide flaws, exaggerate virtues, and polish every sentence. But pretending consumes energy. Eventually, fatigue defeats performance. The mask slips, impatience emerges, pride reveals itself, resentment speaks. This moment frightens many people because they believe the relationship is falling apart. In truth, it is finally becoming real. The beginning of love is often theater. The endurance of love begins only after the actors leave the stage. One of the greatest illusions is believing that trust eliminates uncertainty. It does not. Trust simply teaches you to live peacefully beside uncertainty. You never possess complete knowledge of another person's heart. Their thoughts remain invisible. Their future choices remain unwritten. Absolute certainty belongs only to fantasy. Those who demand guarantees before committing will wait forever. Life offers probabilities, not promises. There is remarkable strength in accepting this uncertainty. When you stop demanding impossible certainty, relationships become lighter. You appreciate the present instead of constantly interrogating the future. You stop asking whether someone will always love you and begin asking whether today's love is genuine. The future will answer itself when it arrives. Many people sabotage trust because they secretly believe they are unworthy of it. Deep within them lives the conviction that abandonment is inevitable. Every compliment feels suspicious. Every delay becomes evidence of rejection. Every disagreement confirms their darkest fears. Such people do not lose relationships because others fail them. They lose relationships because they wage war against ghosts created by their own insecurity. No partner can heal a mind determined to distrust itself. Trust in others begins with trust in your own judgment. If you cannot believe your ability to recognize truth from deception, every relationship becomes terrifying. You become dependent on constant reassurance because you have abandoned confidence in your own perception. Strength does not mean believing. you will never be deceived. Strength means believing you can survive deception without allowing it to poison your entire existence. This distinction changes everything. The courageous person says, "If betrayal comes, I will suffer, I will learn, and I will continue." The fearful person says, "I must eliminate every possibility of betrayal before I allow myself to love." One lives, the other merely hides. There are moments when ending trust is wiser than preserving it. Forgiveness is admirable, but repeated betrayal transforms forgiveness into self-destruction. Compassion without boundaries becomes permission for exploitation. Some relationships survive because both people grow together. Others survive only because one person keeps sacrificing while the other keeps taking. Endurance alone is not evidence of love. Even chains endure. Ask yourself a difficult question. Does this relationship make you smaller or stronger? Do you silence your convictions merely to avoid conflict? Do you apologize for your strengths so others feel comfortable? If trust requires you to abandon yourself, then what remains to protect? The highest form of trust never asks you to become less than you are. It invites your fullest expression, because genuine affection does not fear authenticity. Many people believe honesty automatically creates trust. Yet honesty without wisdom becomes cruelty. Speaking every thought that enters your mind is not courage. It is lack of discipline. Truth requires timing, compassion, and purpose. A surgeon cuts with precision, not recklessness. Likewise, honest words should heal whenever possible, not merely satisfy the speaker's desire to appear authentic. Relationships collapse, not only from lies but also from careless truths delivered without understanding. There is immense psychological power in consistency. Grand declarations impress people briefly. Repeated actions shape belief permanently. The person who quietly keeps their promises earns deeper trust than the one who endlessly speaks of loyalty. Words stimulate emotion, educate memory, and memory decides whom we trust. The tragedy of modern relationships is that people invest more energy into appearing trustworthy than becoming trustworthy. They master charming conversations, attractive appearances, and persuasive performances, while neglecting the quiet habits that sustain confidence over years. Performance creates admiration. Character creates trust. These are not the same. Never confuse intensity with depth. Some relationships burn like wildfire, consuming everything within weeks. Passion convinces people they have found destiny itself. Yet when difficulties appear, the fire dies because it fed only on excitement. Deep trust resembles an ancient tree. It grows slowly, survives storms, and expands through seasons of both abundance and hardship. Its strength is invisible until adversity arrives. Patience is therefore one of the greatest architects of trust. Anything built too quickly often collapses just as fast. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be risk. No philosophy, no promise, and no ritual can eliminate this reality. Every meaningful relationship demands vulnerability. Every vulnerable act contains the possibility of pain. The question is never whether suffering can be avoided. The question is whether the relationship before you deserves the courage your trust requires. Learn to observe patterns instead of isolated moments. Anyone can appear kind for a day. Anyone can apologize after being exposed. Anyone can make promises beneath the fear of losing you. Watch what repeats itself. Repetition is where character leaves its fingerprints. Respect those who admit their mistakes before being forced to confess them. Respect those whose private behavior matches their public image. Respect those who remain loyal when convenience invites betrayal. Such people are rare not because perfection is rare, but because self-mastery is rare. In the end, trust is neither blindness nor certainty. It is disciplined hope. It is the decision to see another human being clearly including their flaws, while still choosing to walk beside them as long as their actions remain worthy of that privilege. Do not seek relationships that promise a life free from pain. Such promises belong to fantasies sold by those afraid of reality. Seek relationships where honesty survives discomfort, where freedom survives closeness, where respect survives disagreement, and where both souls continually become stronger, because neither demands the destruction of the other. The greatest relationships are not built between perfect people. They are forged between individuals courageous enough to abandon illusions without abandoning each other. They understand that trust is not a destination reached once and forever. It is a living force renewed through countless choices made in ordinary moments when no audience is watching. When the world teaches you to expect betrayal everywhere, refuse the temptation to become bitter. Bitterness is simply another prison built by disappointment. Instead, sharpen your perception, strengthen your character, and choose your companions with relentless wisdom. Give trust neither cheaply nor fearfully. Give it consciously, knowing its value, accepting its risks, and understanding that without it, life becomes nothing more than a lonely march through a landscape where every face is an enemy and every heart remains forever locked behind walls too thick for love, friendship, or truth to ever enter. The strongest soul is not the one that trusts without thinking, nor the one that trusts no one at all. It is the one that has looked directly into the possibility of betrayal, refused to become its servant, and still possessed enough courage to extend an open hand to those who have earned a place beside it.